This platform has become a space for me to share parts of my story, my journey as a grad student, a mom, and someone living with a physical disability, as well as my struggles with anxiety and depression. And the truth is, I can't share my story honestly without also talking about being an immigrant and the daughter of immigrants. I can't pretend my mental health wasn't shaped by growing up undocumented, or that it's unaffected by living in Trump's America in 2025. I was born in Mexico. My parents brought me here when I was 2 years old, partly to seek medical treatment for my cerebral palsy, and it was here, in this country, that I took my first steps around the age of 3. I literally learned to walk here. I was undocumented from early childhood until my mid-20s. I became a permanent resident in 2015 and a U.S. citizen in 2021. My mental health, my immigration story, and my disability, they're all connected. I can't separate one from the other because they all shape who I am. I live at the intersection of all of these things. I grew up learning to keep my head down, to not be seen, to never cause trouble, respect authority, don't speak out, don't draw attention, and I still struggle with that. I still struggle to find my voice. That's the truth. And here's the irony, because I'm a speech therapist, I help others find their voice. I always tell my students and clients that what they have to say matters, and that truth doesn't change just because someone didn't have the means to obtain a document. As immigrants, our voice matters too. I don't blame my parents. I love them for doing what they had to do, for surviving, for helping me survive. But right now, the fear I see in my community, the fear I feel for people I know and love, it's real. It's overwhelming. People are being detained in camps, kept without food, without water, without access to basic hygiene. Some are being sent to prisons in countries they've never known. Families are being torn apart, and many are simply disappearing. There's a widespread misconception that being undocumented is a criminal offense. It's not. It's a civil violation. For context, civil violations include things like jaywalking or parking in a no parking zone, yet we don't call people illegal drivers or illegal walkers. We certainly don't define people by those infractions. And yet, we've been conditioned to associate the word illegal with criminal, when the reality is far more complex. Another thing I hear all the time is, well, they should just come here the legal way. But what many people don't understand is, for most, there is no legal way. There is no line. There is no path to citizenship. That's not how the system works. People imagine there's this fair, straightforward process where you fill out some paperwork, wait a while, and then get approved. But that's a myth. You can't just say, I want to go to the US and do it the legal way, sign me up. Because for most people, there is no sign up. The system is broken, and it's broken on purpose. Another common myth is that undocumented people don't pay taxes, but that's simply not true. Before I became a U.S. citizen, I paid taxes every year using an ITIN. I never received a refund. I contributed to the system, but I didn't get anything back. That's my lived experience. These are just a few examples of the misinformation that exists. And the reality is, facts alone often don't change minds when the real issue is rooted in fear or prejudice. Some people still claim that this administration is only targeting criminals, but that's not true. ICE is engaging in blatant racial profiling. They're targeting working people, families, children, people who are simply trying to survive. And I want to be honest about something that's difficult to admit. I likely wouldn't be targeted in a raid. I'm what some would call white passing. My skin is fair and I speak English without an accent. That shouldn't protect me, but it does. And that fact alone shows just how deeply racism is embedded in this system. Because let's be real, it's mostly brown people who are being targeted because of the color of their skin, because of how they speak, because of where they're from. This isn't just about policy, it's about race. And racism is hiding behind words like law and order and national security. I never set out to make this platform political, but over time I realized my existence is already politicized. My identity, my story, and my voice have all been shaped by the trauma of immigration, disability, and systemic injustice. Staying silent is no longer an option. To those who defend these inhumane policies, I ask, why? Why is it acceptable to dehumanize people just because they don't have a piece of paper, because they were born on the other side of a border, because they don't have access to a system that's designed to keep them out? And here's something history makes clear. At one time in history, it was illegal for black and white people to marry. It was illegal to shelter Jews during the Holocaust. If history teaches us anything, it's this: what's legal isn't always right, and what's illegal isn't always wrong. Most undocumented people are hard-working, tax-paying individuals trying to create a better life, just like anyone else. This country has a long history of criminalizing those who don't fit its dominant narrative. We are more than your headlines, more than your stereotypes. We are people, we are families, we are workers, students, and dreamers. Most importantly, we are human beings, and our voice matters.